Hey, and welcome to ArenaFan Live. I'm Tim Capper, along with John Stark. Man, that we're it's all been all this time where the Arena Football League has been away. The folding of it in 2019 and it coming back, and all the rumors and stuff that have been circulating for months. We finally got some answers, but in all honesty, my friend, I think we got a lot of I think we get a lot more questions than we did answers, and it's not. I mean, what were you expecting to first start off? I mean, first, how you doing, buddy?
I'm great. This is a long time coming. It has been years since we had a regular podcast,
Yeah, yeah,
and now we're live.
yeah. I know. Who would have thought the days of taping AFL Rewind, man. But that's for another day. We'll bring back AFL Rewind for sure, guys. That's what our goal is to do. But we're here to talk about the New York City announcement today that was done by the Arena Football League. Going into it, what were you hoping to get out of it? Oh, and by the way, if everything works out according to plan, we should have Minnesota Myth head coach Ricky Foggy joining us in the next 10 minutes. So stay tuned. But what do you think? Or what were you thinking?
I, what was I thinking? Well, first, I didn't know what to expect. I had a feeling of what we were going to get. We got the schedule announced for all 16 teams. We got some information on Humble, the new AFL mobile app that's coming out for iOS and Android devices. And I'm left with a lot more questions. I want to know more, like you're saying.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you, dude. I mean, it's like I was hoping to hear a little bit more on the television contract. We know that NFL Network and Prime has been dropped or name dropped or hinted at or whatever you want to call it. But that and stats partners, that for me, that's the big thing. Obviously, with us here at Arena Fan, that's to be able to encompass the entire history of the league, we need to have that. Um, Also, the teams and the schedule. That was probably one of the biggest things that we heard about today, and it so happened that all the teams that were rumored, we're thinking maybe up to possibility of 20 because that had been talked about before with the commissioner. Um, we get 16. We get 16 teams, but some of the teams that have been hinted at, potentially Chicago and Arizona, because those teams supposedly are having their launch parties still tomorrow on Friday. They weren't anywhere to be seen in this 16 team league for 2024, were they?
No, and I have a feeling that we may be waiting until 25 to see those teams added.
It's very possible. That's what it seemed that the commissioner was hinting at today. Um, there seems to be a lot of stuff behind the scenes that we don't know about because I've talked to uh, to Commissioner Hutton before, and the way that how he was strongly wording certain things at the beginning of the press conference today was a little bit interesting because it seems like they are hinting at potentially sabotage, shenanigans, whatever you want to call it, when it came to some of these teams who wanted to play in 2024, but maybe because of arena issues or arena deals that fell through. It looks like at least those two teams, being Chicago and Arizona, will not be joining us because of whatever those reasons may be. Um, I mean, did you when you watched what you did that come across to you at all? Because, you know, Arizona was supposed to be launched yesterday, decided to push it back until Friday. Chicago is still having their launch party tomorrow. What are your thoughts?
Just not ready. They did a lot in this calendar year, a lot more than I was expecting. Just conversations that we've had between ourselves and other guys affiliated with ArenaFan, and I just I don't know. I think that they're trying to limit themselves and not overdo it. I think we need to have some expectations, and we don't want to like be eager for 24 teams,
Hmm.
and then the whole thing just be sloppy and a mess.
I kind of get that because when you originally heard that 16 at first saw the announcement of the I guess we'll call it that the cities that they wanted to have or the locations that they wanted to have. I think that got a lot of flack as the months went on. Obviously, the way that the league was doing their announcements was kind of getting a lot of flack and kind of frustrating a lot of people. I'm on one of the guys, John, were on the side of I actually liked how they did the announcements. I'm sure you guys are saying, Tim, you're crazy. But for me, it was a matter of just they're still keeping the league talked about. It was still keeping the league in within the news feed itself of the day, because obviously with the internet, you see something once, it may just go away. It's like looking at the stream on Facebook. Once you see it, you may not ever see it again.
It's true.
What side were you on, John, when it came to how the league was doing the announcements?
I think I think the fact that it was staggered gave us a little bit of information at a time over the last few months. Some of the larger markets were announced, like the Firebirds, for example. I was really happy to see that, and that's come together really nicely. We've got some familiar faces up there, Dwayne Hollis, Darius Prince, Brandon Cisse, but then we have, I hate to say it, some questions, like the
Hmm.
Philadelphia Soul. What's
Yeah,
going on? What's going on with that? That schedule, all road games. I just don't know. Philadelphia No Soul.
that's something, man. Do we even
Yeah,
call them? Do we even call them Philadelphia? You know what I mean?
right.
It's
I do.
just team in name. So I mean, it's dating back to the days of the Baltimore CFLers, who wanted to be the Stallions and then became uh, they want to be the Colts and the Stallions. But anyways, that's another league, another thing. We'll be looking at the schedule in a couple of minutes. We're trying to see if Ricky Foggy is going to be joining us, and we'll talk to him a little bit more about obviously how he got involved with the Minnesota Myth. Um, that's a good actually question to actually topic we can talk about right now, John. As people know, when it comes to the Myth, is that their owner is actually uh, Commissioner Hutton's wife.
Yes.
Um, in my opinion, I don't have an issue with it because when people say to me, "Well, isn't there a conflict of interest, that type of thing?" Well, my thought is, look at Coach Guy. Doesn't his wife own the Tucson Sugar Skulls? So to me, I don't. I would imagine that there are some rules set into place because those two teams just did do some trades between each other.
Right.
When you
Insider trading.
yeah, well, people may talk about that. No, that's a
Right.
very good point.
Yes. Yes.
Um, it's a question, obviously, that we're going to hope to speak with Commissioner Hutton about that and find out about that in particular. But when you hear that type of thing, I mean, obviously, I mean, how does it strike you? Do you hope that there are things in place that the league has put into writing? So if they do want to trade between each other, or if they want to trade between two different teams, or if a player needs some sort of punishment for something that he did, what are your thoughts when you hear that Commissioner Hutton's wife is the owner of the Minnesota Myth?
I personally don't have a problem with it. I would hope that the league would have stipulations in general, just across the board for trades, especially when it does come to ownership like this, that there may need to be a vote of approval and it may need to be unanimous. I hope they have something worked out so that things are fair.
Yeah, and obviously there are a lot of inner workings that even as fans from way back, as long as we've been, John, that there are a lot of stuff that we never heard about on the inside. How were things decided upon when it came to punishments and fines and stuff like that. So it's going to be interesting. Just throw it out there to people who are watching also in the chat. I mean, what do you guys think? I mean, when it comes to that type of thing, do you think there is a conflict of interest? Do you think there is? Do you think everything will be okay? I mean, are you okay with it? Let us know in the chat, and we'll put your comments up on the screen here. Um, let's talk about how they announced, because we'll get to the schedules and stuff in a minute, as I said. But let's talk about how they announced how the games are going to be played, what days are going to be played, and how they laid out the postseason. Because I think for me, that was the biggest what moment? Because I did not see that coming whatsoever at all. Like the Georgia Force, didn't see that coming. Didn't see that coming either. So the league has stated already that games will be played on Thursdays, Saturdays, Sundays, and Mondays. They're talking. They were really promoting Thursdays and Mondays. Each of those are going to have one game apiece, and I would imagine, John, that those would be the days where, if it's NFL Network, if it is Amazon Prime, that those would be the two main days where it would be shown on television. Saturdays would be 4 games, and Sunday would be 2. Thoughts? Not no Friday games.
Yeah, I wonder what that's about. You know, I do like the Thursday and Monday night games. That sort of falls in line with a traditional NFL watching schedule for some people's lives. And
Mm-hmm.
then Saturdays are good days, you know, a weekend game. Sunday's good. People are used to watching football on Sundays. I think that it's going to make it more accessible to have it staggered throughout and across the weekend, rather than have games on Wednesday nights, for example.
Mm-hmm.
You know, some people are tired during the middle of the week. They don't want to take the time to watch something like a sporting event, and I think they're trying to capitalize on available viewership.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think, and I didn't, when they said the stat, I didn't even think about going back and checking this type of thing. But um, how often has the league had Thursday games? You know, to me, Thursday games you're being placed into an arena because that's the only day that was available. But what it looks like in this case, it has to do with mm, what the television gods want, what they're offering as for you to be on national television, that type of thing.
Okay.
Um, that's my thought really on that one. Monday night football, it's a staple, and you know the arena league's been on Monday night football before when it was on ESPN, so there's no real issue there. I'm just worried about short. You know, that'll be another thing. Short again, so much with the schedule, short weeks. You know, God forbid you got a team playing on Monday and then having to play on Thursday.
Yeah, that is a short week. That does happen in the NFL, although I know they don't like to. I don't think they like to let that happen, but I've seen
Mm-hmm.
that happen.
Well,
And you know, we have the schedules and we see it broken down into weeks, but we don't have the exact dates yet for when these teams
exactly.
will be playing.
Exactly. Yeah, it's um lastly for this portion, it's the playoffs. Playoffs. Um Neutral site playoffs.
At sites of future AFL teams.
Yes, or
Yes.
future markets.
Yes.
So could that mean I'm just gonna? I mean, it's other stuff in the because they were really promoting obviously going international too. So U.S. markets, Mexico markets, Canadian markets, European markets. I mean, I guess anything is possible. You know, considering with this push, obviously with USA football, uh, uh, and having flag football in the Olympics. So, but it's going to be the conference finals are going to be held in Las Vegas,
Yep.
and then the Arena Bowl, at least for this year, and the return of the All Star Game are going to be held in Minnesota. But yet again, arenas are still to be determined. Which, I mean, first, I'm going to ask you because I've been to more than you have when it came to neutral site arena bowls. What are your thoughts
Yeah.
on first neutral site arena bowls?
I think it is. I think it's a good idea. I think it's going to depend on the venue,
Mm-hmm.
and it's going to depend on the location. And in this instance, we're going to get Minneapolis first, and who knows what we're going to get going into the future.
Yeah.
You know, the Super Bowl, that's something that generally moves around the country. I think it's a good idea. It makes the game more accessible to some fans as we go on through time. Travel may be a shorter distance for some people or a longer
Mm-hmm.
distance for other. And next year it's a different case.
I mean, people need to remember too that yes, that there were some neutral site playoffs back in '88 or is it 89? They did it back then, but that was back then. That isn't now. So I mean, yeah, I don't know, dude. I mean, and going into Vegas too. Vegas, as everybody knows, does currently have an IFL franchise. I was supposed to say the Golden Knights. I don't remember what they're called. The Golden something or others. Um, and they play in Henderson. So
Oh, did you see the Athletics are moving to Vegas?
I did. I
Yes.
did.
So they are trying to bring Vegas up into the world of sports.
Yeah, and I mean I get that, but and it sort of goes to what we were talking about before when it came to potentially two competing leagues in the same city, which was rumored to be what was going to be happening in obviously with Arizona, with the Rattlers in the IFL and the Bandits in the AFL. Um, but why Vegas? You and I both know, and anybody who's been following the Arena League long enough knows that, in my opinion, Vegas is the place where the league goes to die. I mean, you had the Sting, you had the Gladiators, I mean, you had the Outlaws. I don't know, man. I mean, does it deserve another shot, a potential fourth shot? But I guess it's where they're going to play to, I guess.
I don't know. I don't know. So I think it's not doable, but a neat idea would be to have a game at the new Sphere in Vegas. I don't believe it's doable though.
Oh,
I
baby.
do
Oh, I never even thought about that.
I do know the UFC, they're going to have an event in Vegas next September for
Mm-hmm.
the first time ever. They're based out of Vegas, so that makes sense for them, but yeah, I just don't know.
And
It's a thought I
and the
just had.
success of you too at the Sphere has just been
Yes.
phenomenal.
Yes.
Oh, that would be interesting. I never even thought about that. Yeah, and I think to me, more or less, that I mean, I don't agree with the neutral site playoffs. I understand what they're doing. I understand that the games themselves are going to be, it's win or go home, that type of thing. But also, it comes to what about the additional cost? I mean, I'm sure, let's say the Iowa Rampage are supposed to host the game. Albany is supposed to host the game. We know in Albany that they would draw 10,000 plus for a playoff game. We don't know yet what it's going to be like when it comes to, as an example, for Iowa.
Yeah.
But the draw and the gate, is it really worth testing out a market? Well, I do understand. Yes, it's the playoffs, but testing out a market and potentially alienating fans who, I mean, in all honesty, if you were an Albany Firebirds fan and you had to go to see them play in the conference finals in Vegas, would you?
I think if I was a longtime fan, yes. If I was a new fan, maybe not. You know, that's an additional expense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know, dude. It's All Star Game. I think is a pretty cool idea. I mean, they had the ones for AFL China. They brought those back. That's been 10 years, by the way. Oh my God. And then there was the original one that happened in Des Moines. Um, I'm just trying to think of I understand the reasoning for the All-Star game. I get it for the neutral site Arena Bowl. I was kind of 50-50 on a neutral site Arena Bowl, but again, as you said, it depends on where you're going to play it and what the arena is, and it's not that they're going to be testing out a market, obviously. But I mean, um, I don't know. That's just frustrating. But on top of that, too, though, John, it's we don't know the dates yet either. We don't, and this is where it comes to our questions about more questions than answers that were really given within the press conference today. Most places we still don't know where they're going to play. Second of all, we don't know what the dates are going to be. We've been told approximately that I think it's going to be April 27th will be week 1 of the AFL season. 10 weeks from there, 2 weeks of playoffs. What? I don't know, dude. It's just trying to think of. It's just too many questions. I mean, when you brought it up too, no dates, no arenas. What are your thoughts when you are a fan of a city that's a legacy city that's come back, but yet you still don't know where you're going to be playing?
Referencing the soul, huh?
Well, yeah. That's the
Yeah.
next topic.
Yeah, just, that's tough. How, when, and where are you going to get a chance to see your team play? Just on TV?
Mm-hmm.
Based on the schedule, closest city for a true Philadelphia city fan is going to be driving up to Albany.
That's true.
Yeah.
That is true. So, and what do you guys think in the chat? Let me know what you're thinking when it comes to neutral site, the playoffs. No dates yet. Most of the places don't have arenas, at least have been named yet. Let's talk about the schedules. Let's talk about the schedule, and we'll start with the Souls specifically. They're one of the teams that were released the latest. When it came out, not as late as that. But Georgia was after that, and we're expecting Arizona today, but yesterday, but they're being pushed to tomorrow, along with Chicago. We were speculating that Wells Fargo. There was speculation that it was going to be Allentown. There was going to be speculation. The high school gym just down the corner. But then we find out that there is not going to be a home arena for the Philadelphia Soul at all. No time, and this is why I would love to speak with Travell Gaines or to Commissioner Hutton, because I would love to know the reasoning behind not having a legacy franchise like the Philadelphia Soul not have be. When you have a traveling team in any league, in my opinion, it really doesn't look well upon the league itself. The AFL has, as far unless the team was taken over by the league headquarters, we've never had a traveling team. So my first question to you, John, is when you found out that there's going to be a traveling team, thoughts?
So, based on how the schedule was released today, just in writing,
Mm-hmm.
I was at work and I did not have a chance to watch the live announcements. It appeared, I assumed, that they were only going to be a home team, not a traveling team. Once I found out that they were going to be a traveling team, I definitely felt shocked. Not floored, but shocked. How are we going to have a historic team of the Arena Football League constantly be on the road every single week for 10 plus weeks? Why are we doing that? I definitely I would definitely like to know the thought process behind it.
Mm-hmm.
Why they chose to do that? Was it necessary? Is it to balance the schedule? I'm not sure.
And I would say you were. I know you were more a Valor fan, but I mean, I would guess say secondary. I feel like was your quote unquote your second home during the time before the league folded.
Yeah.
What?
Well, maybe Atlantic City too. I was up
Atlanta.
there.
Oh, I loved Atlantic City.
Yes. Yeah, quite a bit. Yeah.
Yeah. If you were a longtime Soul fan, how would you feel? I mean, I would feel slighted. I mean, it's like, oh yeah, my team's coming back, and then, well, guess what, ladies and gentlemen, you gotta jump into the car and you gotta follow them wherever they're going to be.
Yeah, or just watch them on TV.
Watch them on TV. Yeah. So yeah, I would feel slighted. I mean, if I had a local team that really wasn't a local team, no, no. But again, this is where we'd love to have what is behind not having an arena for the Philadelphia Soul. What is the reasoning, or what was the cause of Chicago most likely joining in 2025, because their owners were at the press conference today, of the Arizona Bandits not being able to secure an arena. What was that move for the Rattlers to Glendale? You know, there were rumors they were going to be playing in Glendale. There were rumors that they were going to be playing elsewhere. It all goes to the comments that were made earlier today by Commissioner Hutton about issues occurring, bad blood. As I said, I called it shenanigans, sabotage, whatever it may be. That is very possible. That's the reason why the Philadelphia Soul are going to be a travel team this year. To me as a longtime fan of the AFL, it's just frustrating. I mean, and for new fans, I mean, how are you supposed to bring in new fans, John, especially within the Philadelphia area? I mean, you don't have Atlantic City anymore. There's no DC, there's no Baltimore. How are you supposed to keep your fans if you don't have a home? I mean, unless they decide to, I don't know, playoff game in Philadelphia, which, hey, I mean, who's to say?
It's not enough though.
No.
One game's not enough. That does take me back though. It was always a treat to be able to leave Atlantic City, hop in the car, drive to Philly, and catch two games in one day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I agree. I mean, any of the things. By the way, we were hoping for Minnesota Myth head coach Ricky Foggy to join us tonight, but looks like for whatever reason he wasn't able to join us. So I do apologize, guys. I know we were trying to get some other guests to come on tonight. A lot of the ones that we were reached out to were actually at the New York City event. So it was a little bit hard to draw some people in. And I know some others have some other, they have some other things later on this evening. And I know that they were busy for those things too. So, overall, John, as a fan going into 2024, and that's the next segment, we'll just go and talk about the schedules, and we'll ring them up. Overall, how are you thinking as a fan? I mean, you've seen what the league's done, how they promoted the league, how they brought in the teams, and then the launch today, the official launch. Again, still with so many more questions than answers. As a veteran AFL fan that you are, are you staying interested in the league itself? I mean, how do you feel?
I am. I'm interested. I'm excited. I think it's a new product. It's going to be a new time in AFL history. A lot of old teams coming back, some new teams, a new lay of the land, new divisions, new players, young talent, veterans moving into coaching positions. It's a nice shakeup. I'm happy to have the league back. I thought at the end of 2019, this was the end.
Mm-hmm.
We all thought that was the end.
Mm-hmm.
We would never see arena football again. Sure, there were other leagues, other indoor leagues, but still not the arena football name.
Yeah. I remember. I thought the last Arena Bowl was in Albany was the last one I was going to see. It's different, dude. I will admit. I mean, I'm just hoping that we're able to get more of these questions answered, because it doesn't leave a bad taste in my mouth. It's just like, You know when you have hot sauce and it just lingers in the back of your throat after you finish it? It's that type of thing. It's not necessarily a bad aftertaste, but it's just like it's right there. It's just
It's called
bothering you.
it's
Just
called it's called heartburn.
yeah, something like that. Yeah, exactly. All right, so we were talking about the schedules before. Let's go ahead and we will bring those up here and we will talk about them because it's again one of the frustrating things. Obviously, John, is not being able to see any of the actual dates themselves. Looking at the schedules here for the Eastern Division, John. Um, what stands out to you? I mean, for me, the first and foremost thing, as I was able to report earlier today, is that the season will kick off, or at least season one will have the game between the Orlando Predators and the Albany Firebirds in Albany. And as people should know, that this is also this is the 25th anniversary of the Arena Bowl that was won in Albany. So, any thoughts on when you look at these schedules?
Yes, actually, I have a question that I've seen a lot on the internet today.
Mm-hmm.
How and why did Minnesota end up in the Eastern Division? Why not why not Southwest Kansas? Kansas is technically closer to the East Coast, I believe,
Mm-hmm.
than Minnesota. Let's see. I got a big map on my wall right now.
You got a
No,
map on your
actually,
wall?
oh yeah, it's huge. Actually, I'm wrong. Kansas is one state over from Minnesota. So, I guess I guess these were the options that they were left with.
I have a sneaking suspicion it was because of Chicago not coming in 2024.
Okay.
That might have been a huge reason. But as you said, also too, is that they didn't want to have even an odd divisions, which would mean
Mm-hmm.
bye weeks, which we all know that we just so love bye weeks.
Oh, they're my favorite.
Yes. So,
I still do think there may have been a possible shift. We also do have two other East Coast teams, the
mhm.
Orlando Predators, Georgia Force. So, aside from that, I am excited for Week One. The Predators and the Firebirds. That's a good rematch. There's definitely a revenge game there for a few
Mhm.
players. There was a lot of drama with Albany within the last year.
Yep. Yep.
A lot of
And
those
between
players left
these two, these two franchises too,
franchises. Yep.
when they were in the NAL. So yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thoughts too. We have another, I guess we could call it another legacy matchup where you have the Albany Firebirds versus the Nashville Cats. So it's I'm looking at these again. I'd love to know the dates and times. Um, Georgia and Nashville. I mean, come on, two peas in a pod right there, dude. What are they gonna travel by bus? There's not. That's gonna be perfect. That's gonna be perfect for them. It makes me wonder what they were able to do when it came to these schedules, John, and how they're able to. Because I remember initially, I thought they were going to stay with everything within their division. I got to check these real quick, but you have some of these guys. Let's look at Washington Wolfpack there. The farthest east they come, my friend, they go. Oh my lord, they go all the way to Orlando.
Orlando.
Oh
Yeah. That's
wow.
uh that's a distance. That is a distance. That is clear across the country.
Oh man, shades of days of the San Jose SaberCats heading over to, or L.A. or Arizona heading over there. Or it's wow, that's some yeah. But obviously, from what we're seeing here, they're keeping quite close from what we're seeing here. Billings is playing Iowa. They got Rapid City. They got Rapid City again. Man, I'm just looking at these schedules. This is crazy. Let's head over to the other one here. Let's go to the Southern Division here, John. Um, VooDoo Preds, Desert Hawks. I wish they had kept their Warbirds name, by the way. And then the Georgia Force, one of the newest teams that was announced in the AFL. You got some pretty good legacy matchups here, don't you, dude?
Yes, and I am noticing that speaking of Washington and also of Louisiana,
Mm-hmm.
they have 3 and 4 home games in a row.
Oh yeah.
It's quite interesting. Predators do as well with 4.
It makes me wonder. And by the way, obviously some of these teams who play Philadelphia will have an unbalanced schedule for that particular reason. They must know if that to start the season off 3 in a row. They must know, like again for Louisiana, they must know when approximately that they're going to be playing for them to to have 3 straight home games in a row.
Yes.
I understand that they're going back and they're waiting for television to say what's where and so on. But yeah, I mean, it still looks like pretty easy travel here when it comes to these, and that's one of the things I wanted to talk to you about too. Which this is the best. Looking at this division, this is the best reason I think to talk about travel. Obviously with the CIF being, what do you want to call it, John? Did they join the AFL? Were they invited into the AFL? Did they leave the CIF? What, in your opinion, what did these 3 out of 4 teams do?
I don't know. It could be a little bit different for every one of them. They're, what did you say earlier? Espionage? Sabotage?
Shenanigans.
Shenanigans. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. As I said, I think that CIF was on its way out.
Mm-hmm.
They had some established teams already. Even I know that Salina is, and I know that Southwest Kansas is. So yeah, and I know it's funny. It's Wichita was going to be a new team. Iowa is essentially a new team, also. But yeah, again, of all the teams that are in the league, dude, these 4 are the closest. I'm sure as they basically shared all of their press conferences together because they're just so close within that Kansas, the Kansas borders, so to speak. So it's interesting. So I mean, again, it is what it is. They'll probably save the most money on when it comes to travel.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, they're within several hundred miles total.
Yeah, exactly. So, what's some of the other things that we want to talk about? I mean, it's as I said, there are more questions than not for a lot of these things.
How about Humble?
Yes. How? Thank you. That's the other thing that the league had announced along with Humble. They did go ahead and announce some of their. I guess we could say they're rumored partners. We already knew about Wilson. We already knew about Football USA.
Mm-hmm.
But they also happened to announce some of the other ones, and Humble I'm cool about. I'd never heard of Humble going in.
Same.
But they were the ones who did host the stream today. They're also the ones that are in charge of the new website, which is, I can't complain. So far so good. They have everything on there that needs to be, and even a shop T-1 day of launch, dude. They already have some merch up for the league. So they seem to be a partner in such a way that they'll control all the media narrative, social media narrative for the teams, and for the league. I know that I think their CEO actually spoke at the presser today. By the way, if you missed any of the presser or you want to watch it again, it is available over at the league website, and that's over at arenafootballusa.com. That's another thing I want to talk to you about.
Sure.
arenafootballusa.com. There was also the announcement of, and I'll bring it up here because I want to make sure I get their names right. They also talked about their official helmet partner. Now, when we heard Wilson, I couldn't remember. I didn't remember if Wilson was still in the business of doing helmets. But then we find out it's going to be Zenith. I'm trying to. Zenith itself is. I know they've been around for a while. They made a name for themselves. Can you think of any main? I'm trying to a league recently.
The only thing that really comes to mind for me are the Panini Zenith football trading cards.
I did not know that existed. Okay.
Yeah, I'm not sure if that's just one of the, I don't know the right word to use, just one of the like makes and models, so to speak, how
Mm-hmm.
Panini has a lot of lines of cards. Um, maybe that could be it. There's like Mosaic, for example. So
Mm-hmm.
maybe
But
it's just another name. Maybe it's unrelated to Zenith football helmets.
I never thought about it. Is it the same logo? I can't even remember if it is. Guys in the chat, if you know, let us know because I don't know. Um,
I don't think it is.
okay.
But that's just I'm just saying that's the only thing that comes to mind when I think of Zenith in football.
I'm trying to think. I don't remember. And guys in the chat, let me know too. I mean, was it, were they involved with the AAF? No, I don't think so. Were they involved with the USFL? Or are they involved with the XFL? I don't know. I don't know. But beyond that too, they were also let us know that, and this was the biggest guess for all of us because I think this one came completely out of left field here, John, is that the official uniform and sideline apparel partner is a company that is called Assist to Score. Now, if everybody remembers watching or seeing some of the pictures from the VooDoo launch, they had a uniform there, and we weren't sure what the logo actually was because the main thing that everybody was talking about was either A, how much they hated the VooDoo logo, or B, how the mock-ups, I'll call them mock-ups, of logos look like the Saints. But this is a company that I've never heard of before. I mean, if you remember earlier in the year, there was this big story that was that really caught fire was that they were potentially talking to Starter as a
I
potential,
remember that.
yeah, a
Yeah.
potential partner, and we all speculated it could be for not only for apparel because they've really come back when it comes to apparel, and a couple of leagues also, outdoor leagues have been using Starter, whether it's with the identification or not. So I'm curious to know what this is because we're a bunch of guys. If you've been around the league long enough, if you're a collector of jerseys and game worn jerseys and stuff like that, I mean, we've gone through Wilson, we've gone through we've gone through Under Armour, we've gone through Nike, we've gone through the ones that are local that when the league didn't have something that we had Russell Athletic. I'm curious to know how these things.
Phenom, Phenom
Phenom
Elite.
Elite, yeah, you're right, Phenom, you're right. So I'm curious to know how these things are going to stand up. We remember seeing some of the issues that occurred with Phenom when they first had their jerseys. Will the same thing occur? Again, I'd love to know some of the other leagues that this company has been the sponsor for, and I'm also curious to know when it comes to the merch. What's the merch going to be like? What are the replica jerseys going to be like? You want something that's going to look good, and if the league's really going to push this, it was, and I don't mean to say this in negative, but was Assist to Score, were they a placeholder for 2024? Did it reach a point where Starter was going to be in the conversation, but something happened that it didn't allow them to be around for 2024?
Like we said, Tim, a lot of
I
questions.
know,
A
man.
lot of questions.
It's
I got a
Friday.
question for you.
Yes, sir.
All right, so out of all 16 teams, we see some new logos, we see some awkward logos, we see a few old teams with revamped logos. What are your thoughts on the VooDoo and their new logo as compared to the old New Orleans VooDoo?
The VooDoo logo itself to me was iconic, man. It really was. I mean, you can't get any cooler than Bones. The color scheme itself, and I know that I have a request in with the league to try to speak with because Commissioner Hutton mentioned this I think in our first conversation back in April that they were going to potentially redesign or update some of the logos within the AFL, whichever team that they were going to bring in. I'm kind of okay with the VooDoo there, John. It's slightly different. It's never going to replace, do we call them V bones? I don't know what to call it. The color scheme itself was phenomenal. The later years, I kind of hated it because it got away from the more purple and black type of thing. But it would,
Hmm.
I, I have no problem with it. Since you threw that one on me, I'm going to throw this on you. What's your thought of the Philadelphia Soul logo? Speak your mind, John. Let it out, my friend.
It it's like it has turned into some sort of dragon or a wisp. I'm not sure. I have a good feeling that this is going to be a whole new um, version of the soul. This isn't your grandfather's Philadelphia soul anymore.
Hmm. Hmm. So it makes me wonder. Now I understand that with the when it came to the buying all the trademarks and the rights during the bankruptcy, was the logo more tied to John Bon Jovi and Jaws, more so that they really could not they had access to the name, but they did not have access to the logo. So they
Right. So
had to go
they
ahead and go and do a redesign of some of these. Um, for me, I kind of like where they went. We've seen two
Okay.
versions of the logo itself. One that's I think is currently on the league website, and one that had a little bit more wings to it that was in the press release.
Yes,
Um,
I do recall.
I mean, I want to see it's funny for all these new logos. I want to see all of the graphics. I want to see all the vectors, and I want to see all of all of their mood boards and stuff like that. So I'm curious to see what they look like. But I mean, it's um,
To take it back to the Voodoo real
yeah,
quick, I do appreciate that the new logo still has the skull, that they still incorporated purple into the design, and in the center of the skull there is a purple V, which is
yeah.
a little bit of a homage back to the red V bones.
Mm-hmm.
So
Agreed.
I do like it.
What about they're also incorporating more of the colors, which the other the Legacy Voodoo didn't do, is colors of Mardi Gras.
True.
Because
That's a
that's
good
really
point.
what that seems to me what they're really trying to push is the actual colors of Mardi Gras itself. So um, it's fine. Again, it's fine. You saw some of the other ones too that came out that they were something that popped up was potentially um, the Cleveland Gladiators. Maybe that's a 2025 team. We don't know. That never came to fruition. It was just something that popped up on social media. Um, and then we see the two versions of the logo for the Georgia Force, John. One that showed up in the press release, and then one that's currently on the website. I like the one better that was actually the G-Force one, I guess we'll call it. I like that one a little bit better than they currently have. But again, once I speak with the league, I'll see if I can get some more confirmation on what's what. So,
Yes, the one that is currently listed on the season schedule leaves much to be desired. I'm not a fan of that.
um, I mean, redesign's good, but sometimes I understand what the fans are thinking. Sometimes you don't necessarily need to. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? So
Mm-hmm.
yeah. Again, I'm trying to look at some of the other stuff, other logos that they have here too. By the way, the one thing we didn't talk about, which we have no clue what who they are, and how they're going to be involved as a partner, is Wave Sports and Entertainment. They're also being touted as a official social media partner of the AFL. Don't know anything about them. I am only assuming that it's going to have to do with maybe either streaming or capturing videos and posting them on social media. Maybe they're going to be working in tandem with some of the other partners. I don't know.
I've never heard of them before either.
Yep. Yeah, I remember posting it on social media, and somebody goes, Wave S&E? What the hell is that? So, anyways, trying to think. A lot more to come. And by the way, I had a particular comment that's sent to me, and I'm going to head and mention it, because this is what this was his idea, in particular, of what he thought of the presser conference today and whatnot. He goes, and he goes, in my opinion, it was really a poor showing. What's really concerning, though, is team ownership. I think half to three-fourths are hoping for additional funds, and they really have no idea how to do this right or how expensive it really is. Almost has an AAF feel, with all the talk about gambling partners and gambling changing tech, but without the NFL names that the league had in its employ. Interesting comment. Fair?
Fair, although I will say near the end of the last iteration of the Arena Football League in 2018, 2019, they were starting to bring the gambling partners in, and I do think things were headed in the right direction. I appreciated VSiN and the ability and the ability to play some fantasy football there. I don't remember what we were using. Was it DraftKings? I don't remember for sure. I think it was. But there's promise with the gambling partners. I think it just has to be done the right way.
It does. It does. This is a very interesting comment, and everybody who knows the AFL, and yes, Dave, the only reason why I'm highlighting this is because you have the history within the league itself. But as Dave says here, he says, as someone who's working both the AFL, both at the league and the team level, for almost 20 years, I hope that all this works out for the sake of fans. This is the shakiest league launch I have ever seen, which I kind of agree with.
I mean, I don't know
he would know. A lot of us would know.
He would know.
I mean,
this
isn't the days that remember the days. I know it's somewhat before your time, but I'm sure all of you fans will go out there and remember the day that the newly launched AFL back in 2010 had their press conference of announcing the 16 teams. By the way, on a conference call, literally on a conference call. So how? For those of you who've been around long enough, Dave, as example, myself, and a few of you out there also, how does that compare? How does what happened today compare to what it was back in 2010? Now, I get the technology is different. I completely get that. But still, it's how the presentation was done. What are your thoughts? I mean, John, I don't know if you remember it. I mean, but it's we've seen some doozies of launches from other products and other leagues where it's like, are you kidding me?
Well, I think this was a heck of a lot better than just a conference call. I will tell you that. But like you said, technology has changed. Things are different. Everyone wants to see all the bells and whistles now, because if you've got the money, you've got the resources. So there's been launch parties and announcements that we were even unaware of 6 months, 8 months ago. We found out after
Minnesota the other night. Minnesota had a huge launch party after the fact. We have a staffer who's going to be going to the Rush launch tomorrow.
So We do. That's true. Um, a lot goes on behind the scenes. It's hard to judge a book by its cover. It's an old adage for sure, but
But it's a fair comment. It's a very fair
yeah.
comment. Um, oh, I'd say we're gonna push this thing for about another 4 minutes, guys. We really appreciate you joining us for the debut show of Arena Fan Live. We hope to do it again. Again, once we get more information, stay tuned for more episodes of AFL Rewind. I know some of you were DMing me and saying, "Are you guys bringing back AFL tonight?" I guess like the current AFL and having to rebrand, we had rebranded right after the league folded in 2019. So that's what we're. AFL Rewind will currently be our podcast going forward, and we just have to determine what we're going to do when it comes to myself and John. And are we going to have is Ben coming back? Are we going to have some more people join us? We'll let you guys know for sure. Don't forget to check out, obviously, for ArenaFan. It is currently still in its historical mode. We're setting things up in the back end, and once we are able to enter all the information for the new league, we will add it, and then we will relaunch as a live site again, and where you'll be able to get all the information that you normally have been able to when it comes to everything Arena Football League. So also follow us on Twitter. That's at ArenaFan. You can follow myself at Repact. That's REPPACT. And I get your numbers wrong, John, but what is yours, John? Sorry,
Well,
X.
first of all, X.
Twix. We'll call it Twix.
Twix. We'll call it Twix. Yeah, at 553, 5FIFTY 3 on Twitter, on Instagram, Facebook, John Stark.
Exactly. And obviously,
I'm currently in dog dad mode on Facebook, so if you look me up, you might see a picture of myself and a Great Dane instead of me and the Arena Football League.
yeah. What's your dog's name? Don't tell me it's Scooby.
Oh no, it's Philip
Okay.
After Lip Gallagher from Shameless.
Okay. 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 All right. To finish this up, and we'll set it into the chat so everybody can chime in too, and if they want to comment on this too. Obviously, we're hoping to speak with the commissioner and to speak with the CEO, Travell Gaines, very shortly to get some more information and hopefully get some more answers of what they can give us when it comes to the reasonings behind these teams not showing up, the reasonings with currently not having arenas listed for a lot of these teams. And maybe it just has to do with contracts. I get that. But John, if you were able to ask either Commissioner Hutton or Travell Gaines one particular question when it came to this league, what would you ask them?
At this point in time, my question would be directed at what's going on with the Philadelphia Soul. What was the decision behind that?
Very good question.
Yeah.
I think for myself, and somebody actually pointed this out to me, and it makes a lot of sense too, is that on the old website, I think it was the AFL.com, if I remember correctly,
Mm-hmm.
they listed everybody who was with on the board itself, et cetera, et cetera. They currently aren't listed on the Arena Football USA website. I'm curious to know the status of a lot of these members. Are they still with the team? Is still Force One? Are they still a monetary partner in the league itself? People have brought up the question, even though the league still has stated, and it looks like it's coming to fruition, that it will be a $700,000 cap, players getting paid approximately $1,000 a game. Where's all this money coming from? That's what I would love to know. I understand that you can have local owners, but like John's been bringing up too, about Philadelphia, how can you make money? How can you pay these players $1,000 a game when you're not getting any revenue? So I would like to know a little bit more about the funding within the AFL. Again, are these partners still around? We've heard rumors of silent partners. If it's a silent partner, fine. I'm fine with that. But I'm curious to know about the group that was based out of Toronto, Canada, Force One.
I will
curious.
say, on theafl.com.
Hmm.
Currently under partners, Force One is still listed.
Okay. But again, why not bring it over to to you know, why bring it over to Arena Football USA?
And that brings up a point you had. Will there be a arenafootballeurope.com? Will there be a arenafootballmexico or Canada.com?
Be interesting. I'm curious to see where
Yes.
this league is going because I know many things can change. And I think what people need to understand too is that if you go back and you listen to the conversation that I had with Commissioner Gaines, a lot of the information less the cities, because yes, there are a lot of cities that did not come to fruition at least for 2024. A lot of this has really stayed the same. A lot of the information really has not changed. That's a good sign, in my opinion. But again, there's still many questions that we would love them to answer. Obviously, I'm sure the league will give us a lot more, but stay tuned to all of our socials to get any more information when it comes to the AFL. By the way, John, are you a fan of them calling this the AFL, or to you, has it always been always be the Arena Football League?
It's always going to be the Arena Football League. Sure, the AFL is back, but it's the Arena Football League.
Exactly. We even say hashtag Arena Football Family, right? We appreciate every one of you. We really do for joining us for our first episode of Arena Fan Live. Arena Football Family, where it is back. There are more questions to be asked, and obviously more answers hopefully to be given to us. But stay tuned to all of our socials, and we'll try to keep you guys as up to date as best as possible. So we appreciate you, and we'll let you guys know when we're going to have our next episode of Arena Fan Live. So for everybody here at the studio, for John Stark, I'm Tim Capper. Watch the rebound off the net.